has a lot to digest. It's 2 hours. Included words like she's not leaving on a jet plane, as sure as the day goes long. This isn't a joke. This isn't an opportunity to write a novel. This isn't a benefit to come up with great little catchy phrases. This is about a man who came up from California to be with his family, and now he is dead. It is nothing to belittle, take light of. It is a serious matter and a serious allegation, and a serious and devastating loss. When you listen to the phone calls between Kate and Matt on the day, July 12th, they're just happy, you know? Hey, how you doing? I passed the water park. They're just happy. You can tell, at least I can, that he's happy to be getting this over with. What? Of the separation between him and his kids, his babies, and, 3 weeks of probably, in his eyes, hell, even though he had to sort of endure it alone, because his wife took his kids. But there's a lot to this story that the state has produced with their big team of people and their big stuff that they have. That certainly is intimidating to anyone faced with these things. And when you look at all the red in that little figure that was presented to you, the graphing, it's because they produced it. It didn't account for all the other text and all the other stuff. It just, they produced the red. They produced it. They present it. They intimidate with it. Law enforcement intimidates with it to try and prove their case as well. And it's intimidating. It's intimidating what could happen when you enter a plea, what could happen when you resolve a case, when they present you have no choice. Well, today we had a choice. And the choice is to plead not guilty, that I wasn't part of a conspiracy, that there was just a tragic thing that happened. And did it happen? Yeah, it happened. In my opening statements, I said that the state had a narrative, and Kate was required to follow that narrative. And Kate came here and testified about a big plan. And I referred to it as a messy plan. I was mocked for saying that, frankly. This is a crazy plan. This is ridiculous. This is a plan where they had an idea back in January or February to murder Matt because he doesn't want to go to Disneyland, or in May to murder Matt because he said that Tracey told Kate that she used the smoking camper too much, or that Tracey said to Matt, I want the kids to come for the summer California, and he got mad about that. The reality is, and I think the truth is, and that's what you're here to really weigh out, this has been a volatile family regarding Matt and Kate for a long, long time. Not just a year, not just since 2024, but 23, 22, 21, 19, 18, 17. I mean, these have been volatile about the relationship for a long, long time. It was known to all the family members, every single one. Tim referred to himself as a peacemaker or a peacekeeper. Why do you have to be one unless there's not peace, right? Do you have a family peacekeeper? I guess we sort of do in my family, but we really don't have this kind of need to keep peace. I'm a grandpa. I got grandkids. I got in-law kids. I love my grandkids. I love them all. It's great. But the truth is, sometimes I need to tread a little lightly with some of the things I say to my kids. Sometimes I need to tread a little lightly with some of the things I say to my in-law kids. Sometimes I need to tread a little lightly with my little guy who's my little grandson, just because I want to make sure we continue to have a good relationship. Because I love him. And I know all of you know that to be true. You just sometimes have to tread lightly. Sometimes, believe it or not, my kids don't follow my advice. No matter how logical I am, and believe me, I think I'm very logical. But they just don't, because they think they're smarter than me, or they think they have better knowledge about something than me. Sometimes it's really important. Sometimes it's, hey, you need to maybe treat your wife a little bit better. Yeah, those conversations actually occur in my family. They occur between my wife and me, too. So, you know, it's an ongoing process of trying to get things better. But that doesn't lead to some huge conspiracy about murder when nothing said today talks about the fact that the killer is Kevin. Kevin killed a guy. He shot a guy 7 times. And that officer's testimony, that expert, he talked about how he's trained that you have to unload till the object is not moving. They're trained that because this inclination is not to do that. The inclination is just to shoot. But we never heard anything about Kevin being high on cocaine today. We never heard about Kevin being out of his mind on the impairment of a controlled substance, because that doesn't matter. You know, that's not really a fact. That's not a fact to be considered, I guess. It's a consideration for me, because it makes me think that that guy's not thinking right, that that guy is not thinking properly, that that guy's impaired. Cocaine is a big drug. It's a big drug. Not discussed. Doesn't matter. I'd like to pull out, and I'm not sure where this audio is, and maybe Faye could help, but I'd like the exhibit of Kate at the police station. And the reason I would like to pull up this exhibit is because we know what Kate did in furtherance of this plan. She had it all planned out. Indeed, she had until February to plan it out. She was ready to murder him because of the Disney fight, and she was ready to come up with all these ideas, and she included Rachel in that because Rachel, the poor little girl who got, you know, cross-examined, direct-examined by prosecution there, being basically accused of wanting to shoot Matt too, and Tara Lynn, and all the family knows that the real plan is to kill Matt. And the best plan they have is we're just going to kill Matt. Even though we have all this time to prep for it and all this time to prepare for it, we're just going to kill Matt. Nothing else? Well, I'll tell you, I watch enough shows where I could come up with a plan a little bit better than what we see Tracey provide the police when she goes to the police station. Do we have that up? Do you have that up? Tracey at the police station. Did I say Kate? My client, Tracey at the police station. As you might remember, Tracey was on the front yard. She was talking to law enforcement a little bit. She had her phone in her hand. She testified that she called a police officer. That's probably not true, because everything Tracey says is a lie. Tracey probably didn't call the lawyer, because everything she says is a lie. However, the lawyer appeared when she wasn't allowed to use the phone any further. So maybe it was true what Tracey was saying, right? She did call the lawyer, and the lawyer came. If we can hit play. These are unrefuted facts that you cannot challenge.
My supervisor told me just for the meantime, didn't want us to take your phone just for right now.
They took her phone.
So we'll get it back once we're done. if you need to make a phone call, so I'll give it to you. So, and I know that you had mentioned that you may want to talk to a lawyer friend that you have. So let me just give you your address again. Doesn't mean you're in trouble. Doesn't
We can
mean
pause it
you're
right there. Now this is part of the plan. This is the great plan between Kate and Kevin and Tracey. Right here is part of their plan. You can hit play.
So you have the right to remain silent. You can say you can or use against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not have or not answering questions or making statements. Do you understand these rights? Having these rights in mind, do you still want to talk to me? Do you still want to have that lawyer present when you talk to me?
I can talk a little.
Okay, sounds good. So, what exactly were you there for?
It's my house.
It's your house? Your daughter was just visiting, staying for a visit? Okay. Were you planning on staying the night, or?
My daughter?
Mhm.
She lives in California.
Oh, gotcha. So she's visiting from California. Okay. And was she there with her husband? No? Okay.
He's awful.
Mhm.
Speedy breather. So she can hang with me.
Gotcha. And she brought her 2 kids with her?
Yeah.
And they just have those 2 kids? Oh, nice. Okay.
There's no paperwork or anything. She just came for a breather.
Gotcha. Did you go pick her up, or did she fly here or drive herself? Or?
She rented a car.
Rented a car. Gotcha. And was that his truck outside of your house?
Yes. I can both of theirs are not.
Both of theirs?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and when I say
Yeah.
his, hers, yeah, that's, thank you for clarifying that. That's both of theirs, but. So what kind of problems were they having? Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I mean,
We can pause that. I've heard Kate talk about this relationship with Matt. I've seen the video of the wet tortillas. I've heard about Disney. I've heard about the smoke trailer. I've heard about... I couldn't even answer what their relationship is like. So when Tracey is answering that, I would imagine she's thinking, hey man, there's so many things here. They just don't get along. She came up here, they just don't get along. That's what I'm seeing. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's the plan to say they aren't having a problem. And really he just came as a mysterious man at night, had a knife, and we shot him. We can use common sense on that. We can hit play.
I don't know.
And that's okay. If you don't know, right? So,
I mean, I have an idea, but it's so nebulous, so I don't know.
gotcha. Well, sometimes little details for us kind of paint the picture and to whatever that exactly happened, right? So that's why I ask. When did he get here to Utah? Do you know?
I think about a little bit after 10.
A little bit after 10. Okay. And did he call beforehand? Did he text? Did she know he was on
She
his
knew
way?
he was coming,
Okay.
and she was going to talk with him. And I was in the kitchen, and next thing I know, he was in the kitchen. He was like, hey, I go, hi.
Do you know if they had a conversation before?
I
Or?
have no idea.
Okay. Can I walk for me what was happening when you were in the kitchen? He showed up, and then what happened?
I was in the kitchen, and I was sitting on the counter, because I do that, and sit in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And he said hi, and then he walked into the other room, but he was acting different.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by he was acting
He was
different?
just,
What happened after that, after he walked away?
He walked off. He walked away.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Is Katie upstairs?" And I said, "Yeah, she'll come down." That's the last. I heard gunshots. But I no more gunshots now.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard a gun really fired, except for I guess at the gun range.
Okay. And what were you doing when you heard the gunshots?
Just sitting on the counter.
Just in the same spot when you walked in?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what did you do after you heard the gunshots?
I ran into the bottom of the stairs to go check on my daughter. I thought something might happen to my daughter.
Gotcha. And what did you see when you went down the
She
stairs?
was on the ground, laying down, face down.
And then what happened?
I called 911.
Mm-hmm. What was your daughter doing all when you came downstairs?
When I came down to my...
Yeah, when you came
I
down the
went
stairs.
upstairs.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I misunderstood. Do you know who this is?
This is the family attorney.
Oh, gotcha.
Hey,
We're here
talk to
for you.
Kevin. Talk to Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin. So, could you take him to Kevin, please?
Yep.
There you go. Is that the guy that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. There you go. He's here. Do you want him present?
No.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, when you had, I thought you had said that you went downstairs.
Floor.
Gotcha. So you went upstairs to see her when you heard the gunshots. My apologies, I misunderstood you there.
Everything happened on the main floor.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "June, I went in the hallway, and then I went upstairs, and I just said, stay here, don't come downstairs. I don't come downstairs.
And that was to,
My daughter Katie,
okay.
because I didn't want her to see.
Okay, I'm gonna just, because obviously I was confused somewhere, so I'm just gonna back up a little bit. Kind of run me through you sitting on the counter in your kitchen, hearing the gunshots, and then what happened after that.
I went and looked in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Or I went to the bottom of the stairs, and that's the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else happened.
So after you went to the bottom of the stairs, then you went upstairs, and
Yeah, and I
With your daughter?
she said, what happened? I said, just here. Just don't come downstairs, please don't come downstairs, please don't come downstairs. I didn't want her downstairs.
and then what happened?
I know I called that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked if I had CPR, and I was just looking at him on the ground. And then the door opened.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the neighbor upstairs, Caitlin, heard a noise because she asked me if I was okay. I saw when I went to call, she said, is everything okay? So,
And what's your daughter's name? Sorry, I don't want to keep referring to her as your daughter, Katie. Okay. And you probably mentioned that, but I heard Caitlin and I didn't want to get confused. Where were Caitlin's kids at when this happened? Sleeping. Okay. And that's on the upstairs level? Where was Kevin at when this was going on? Well, thank you for kind of letting me know on your side of things what was going on. So I'll step out, and if we have more questions for you, I'll let you know. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
It's 11:42 that night, shooting taking place 10 after 10, something like that. If we can play the next video.
Thanks.
Sure.
You can have that seat. Okay, Tracy, I just wanted to kind of give some time to kind of think. I know you were saying a lot of I don't knows and stuff like that, but is anything else kind of come to your mind right now? No? Not at all? Okay.
I am so in shock. Like do his parents know? Did someone call his parents?
I assume someone has at this point. I've only been here with you, to be honest, so all that information I don't even know myself. The only information I know is kind of what you've told me, and that's about it. So,
Or is Katie here too?
I believe she is, and with her kids came with her, yeah, so they're not alone by
Where's
themselves.
Rory?
We're at Rachel's house.
In Ogden?
Okay.
I don't even know. Is that
That's
another
another
kid?
daughter.
Rory's
Sure.
my daughter,
Yeah,
Rachel's
she's
my
not
other
here.
daughter.
Gotcha. So just to be candid, I kind of feel like you do know a little bit more than you're letting on.
Nope.
Yeah.
It was, he appeared
And
when I
I
was in the kitchen. And
I guess
did
I'm
ask,
more talking about with kind of stuff with Kevin.
with Kevin?
Mhm.
Nope.
Not at all.
No idea where he was. No.
Okay. Okay. Well, again, honesty it's the best policy.
I'm telling-
Set.
I almost know nothing.
Okay.
She schools me on being honest.
Well, good. We always need someone looking after each other, right? To be honest and forthright, right? So, and again, that's just
And
kind of
I've
the vibe that I'm getting. So.
And I've told her
Mhm.
that the most important thing is to be honest and truthful, and we can decline to answer if we want to, and she will do that, but she's not, so far as I know, withholding anything.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I just wanted to come in here and see if you did remember me, because again, like I said, I know you were saying like a lot of I don't knows, and so I just wanted to see if you remembered anything else and talk you with a little bit, but nothing comes to mind at all.
I interacted with Matt for like maybe 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see Kevin. And Matt went around the corner, and by the time I got, I don't even know, I didn't see anything. All I heard was noise.
What were the noises that you were hearing?
The shots.
That was the only
Yeah.
noises. There's no conversation, no confrontation at all.
Not that I heard.
Okay. Gotcha.
Have you been to the house? Do you know the layout?
I haven't, so
This is the plan. 3 months in the making. This is the plan. For Tracy to say, he came in the house, said, "Where's Kate?" And then I don't hear anything, no confrontation, no arguing, and then gunshots. That's the plan. That's ridiculous. If you have a plan, you're gonna have some kind of plan, aren't you? I mean, just previous, it's now 1:47 in the morning on this video. Kevin had already said he had a knife and I shot him. My client said there's not even an argument. I heard nothing like that. Just where is she? And so we can pull that down. And so now we have to go into the delving of other things that the state is presenting, the government is presenting to be these reasons, sort of like leaving on a jet plane. We're just going to pull it out from other lyrics and come up with ideas. Like number one, the reason that we're coming to have Matt murdered is because of this terrible custody fight. Well, there was no custody fight. The only thing about custody in this whole case is a telephone conversation that Kate had with a lawyer who said, hey, if you're in California and then you go to another state, he can file some paperwork to have you come back if you don't agree on it. And then proceed forward in a divorce case. Tracey has been divorced 4 times, has custody, has shared time. The kids have said, I saw my dad every other weekend. The sisters didn't come as much, but I did with my brother. That sounds like something I hear all over the place. But because of some big custody fight, there wasn't a custody fight. There was going to be. Let's not confuse ourselves, right? There's going to be a custody fight. I don't think they're going to last in this marriage, to be honest. If Kate and him drove back to California, maybe they'd give it a try. But I honestly think, personally me, her substance use, smoking weed all the time, being high all the time, Matt's trying to get off alcohol and Buddy's alcohol problem, they're just such a volatile relationship. I just don't see it lasting if this horrible experience didn't happen. Just don't see it lasting. I see obviously a divorce coming on the horizon. I also think that's the reason they have a storage unit, that she had stuff that she left in California, knowing that at one point California is going to have to be a home plate somewhere in relation to the divorce of the kids. So some ruse of this being a big custody fight, it's not a big custody fight. Frankly, we all know where most kids go in custody fights anyway, don't we? Goes with mom. Dads get the weekends and holidays. Matt's not working. Mom's working for an Airbnb sort of as a side hustle job. But the divorce just isn't a custody fight. It's the preliminary. You know what you have when you do a divorce? You have a conversation to talk about the stuff and the kids. That's what you do. The real estate, the TVs if you care, the DVRs if you care, and anything of value if you care. And then the personal things. You always talk about those. Because there are some things that are personal, you know. My mom's ring and my dad's ring and those things. But the big plan, this is it. My client is referred to as the hub, right? And the kids are the spokes. And she's the conspirator trying to get all of them to be included. I don't think that's what you heard at all. We heard in the closing that they had time to stage the scene. Well, that's a pretty terrible staging of the scene to say that no one's arguing, no one's fighting, and all we have is gunshots. And the question was the final straw in the battle between Mom and Matt, Mom being Tracey. They had a Disney battle because Matt, and the exhibit's there for you to see, Matt was going to decline the Disney trip, and because he declined the Disney trip, the 2 little kids aren't coming either. Well, guess what? They went to Disney. And they had a fun time. And it was a good time. Oh, there was an incident that Tara Lynn saw where Matt was abusive towards his kids. But over the time of the Disney, everyone had testified it was good. Everyone got along. Now, before that, Matt was very angry at Tracey. And he didn't want to go to Disneyland. And then later, in May, Matt and Tracey got into it again. As Tracey testifies, she testifies that I talked to Matt about coming to Utah with Kate and the kids. Matt did not like that idea. We needed the money to stay in California. Kate needed to work. I guess Matt was trying to work. I don't know. Just seemed like that volatile relationship, right? And then the text where Kate says, hey, Matt said it's okay if you come here. So the scenario of that is all pretty simple. Tracey had a friend, Amy, whose husband died. She was an invalid in a lot of ways. All of her kids knew this person. She'd known him for 38 years. Tara Lynn had been there. Kate had been there. People had been there to Amy's house. And my client flew in. On the way to flying in, and you look at the text, look at the times. I'm getting on the plane early in the morning. A little bit later, after she said, I'm getting on the plane, Kate texts, Matt said it's okay, you can come over to the house. And my client spent the night at the house. So this, once again, plan of, Disney, she wants to kill him and strangle him, and then in April or May, she goes and spends the night at the house. And spends time with Matt. This relationship, torn apart a little bit, patched up a little bit, sounds like family, doesn't it? And it happens. It doesn't resort to a murder. But it happens. And so Matt said, yeah, I'd come to the house. And so she did. She spent time at the house. Then had the conversation with him. And then he accused Kate. Let me get this right. He was mad because there was a conversation about Kate spending too much time in the smoke truck, in the smoke camp. And Tracey says, he's lying. That's not what I talked to him about. I talked to him about going to Utah, which is probably not what Matt wanted Kate to hear. So I had to give it a reason why he's ticked off at Tracey. But is that surprising? I mean, if you think about Rachel had said, we'd always had a confrontational family life between Matt and Kate and us. Tara Lynn, the same thing. We've always had a confrontational family life with Matt and Kate and us. Even Tim, I had to be the peacemaker because Matt and Kate and us. It's a common theme. Everyone knew. It was just a hard marriage. And that video that we showed of those two just battling about the stupidest thing. It was very normal for them. And the whole family knew. But they got over it. Indeed, they got over it enough that they're going to go to Las Vegas, Matt and Kate, go with Diane, Matt's mom, and spend some time in Vegas, but then that got canceled. And it got canceled because they just weren't getting along. And Diane probably just didn't want to be around that volatile relationship. And frankly, it seemed obvious Kate was ready to call it. Kate was ready to go. Shortly thereafter, Kate did go. And that was a big plan. It was a big plan. It was a plan to go and murder him. No, it wasn't. It was a plan for Kate to go and talk about, how am I going to get this divorce thing figured out? Indeed, in June, after Kate got there, you saw a text today where my client sent to Tara, can you talk to her about talking to a lawyer? I think the day was June 29th. He's talked to her about talking to a lawyer and what she should say to a lawyer. I think the reality is, I'm not going to trust Tracey to have much conversation with the lawyer, to be honest. She smokes weed, she's high all the time, she's volatile, she's all over the place. You saw her on the stand. Tara Lynn seems to have a much more demeanor about herself to be able to handle a good conversation. So is it uncommon when these guys talk every day anyway to say, hey, you talk to her about having a lawyer? Yet that gets construed so that the narrative of the prosecution can imply that this is a big plan. So you can follow that narrative to make sure the narrative is followed. And the narrative is followed so much to the point that it becomes unbearable. Unbearable for Kate. She realizes with all of this narrative and all of these things whacked into a big web where all these colors are pointing to her. You can just imagine when it's pointing to Kate, all the colors in this spreadsheet are all red. Look, Kate, you. Look, Kate, you. Look, Kate, you. You're red, you're red, you're red, you're red. Look what you did. And Kate needed to make a deal because she was afraid of this big environment coming after her. with all of these prosecutors and all of their equipment at their disposal, sometimes it just gets overwhelming and you need to cut your loss. And Kate did. I had a blow-up moment in this trial where I couldn't believe Kate was saying the amount of sentencing time she was saying. If we can pull up the matrix, which I think is defense exhibit number 2, at the matrix. Three. So I lost my stuff for a minute and I had to ask for a break and I had to leave the room. I had to go get my stuff so that I could really, honestly, help Kate be honest. Because at the bottom of this box, it shows 108 months. If you could show the bottom of that box. For her life, she wouldn't agree to that. No, it's not 108 months. It's for life. No. If you look on the left side, aggravated murder, 300 months, category 1. Then first degree murder, 240 months. We all know what Kate was charged with. She was charged with first degree murder, and she ended with a deal of second degree death, second degree murder. 10 years off of her sentence. But there was a caveat. And the caveat for her to get 10 years, because Kate's 40, for her to get 10 years, is she had to tell the truth to the prosecution. That was a caveat. She had to tell them their story. And so as part of that, she came up with her proffer of evidence letter. And that's an exhibit too. In that proffer of evidence, she talks about never talked to Kevin, never did this, never did that, but yet we had a plan. It was just nonsense. Indeed, not only did she have to have a proffer, which her attorney provided for her, but she also had to give an interview. And when she gave the interview, it didn't go well. And the reason it didn't go well is because police told her, you need to be honest. And I asked her that. But you had to do something with the plan for him to come to the house. Right. So you knew that, correct? Yes. I want to hear it. Yes. Boy. I made sure he would come inside the house. Yes. Was that part of the plan? Yes. So even in an interview where she's there to tell the truth and give justice for Matt and give justice for her kids, the officer says, I want to hear it. Well, why do you want to hear it if she's saying it? It's because she's making up whatever plan you're telling her to make up. And she'll agree with it. Because she wants the 108 months. She doesn't want the 240 months. She's willing to do that. It's unrefuted. Unrefuted evidence that she said that the officer said that. I want to hear it. And then, of course, at the end, it said, the plan isn't on, right? It's the officer. And she says, I feel like it was 50-50. She was just willing to say what she needed to say. She felt overwhelmed by what was presented against her. By a team of lawyers, by a team of law enforcement, by texts. She was overwhelmed with it. And she had to take the deal. She wanted to get out and live. And she wanted the 108 months. Well, she declined it for a time. Until we took the break, and then I came back and I said, didn't you say that you were getting this deal for 108 months, and then she talked about, well, I'm in prison now, and things are different now. These jury instructions don't get printed and figured out overnight. These jury instructions, I've seen them many, many times in my career because they're sort of standard. They're standard in a lot of ways according to the case. Some are case specific, like what is the charge. But most of these instructions are over years and decades and centuries of instructions to juries to get refined to what we have before us here. Some of these instructions I would ask that you look at with close attention. Instruction number 10 is the reasonable doubt instruction. And just for a very quick, I know time's going on, very quick evidence. Evidence has to be decided based on a certain standard. And there's many different standards depending on what kind of case you have. A lot of people don't really realize this, but being a lawyer, I've been trained and I went to school and I figured it out. In criminal cases, it is required that the evidence be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. In America, with TVs, we've heard of that many, many times. But there are many cases that do not require proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But in criminal cases, we want the highest level of proof possible to ensure justice is served. Because if we don't get it right as a community, as a people, the harm of getting that wrong is extreme. But there are other evidences. And so going down the tier is usually, you have to have clear and convincing evidence if you want to have your kids be, or not have, but if the state wants to have the kids be taken away in shelter and provided foster care for some time. You don't need beyond a reasonable doubt, but you need clear and convincing evidence. And then if you get in a car accident, you break your leg, and you want to sue the guy for driving inappropriately, you have to prove by preponderance of the evidence. And preponderance is sort of like a little bit more than 50%, you know. Just need to prove your case better than they prove their case. And then if you want, if you have some other law enforcement things like a search warrants or things like that, you need probable cause. It's less than preponderance, it's less than clear and convincing, and it's all less than the highest standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. In this, it says, the second sentence, it says, there are very few things in the world that we know with absolute certainty. I always wonder about that. You know, I know the lights are on. I know my car's out there. But this instruction says we know very little things, very few things with certainty. Okay. In a criminal case, the law does not require proof that overcomes every possible doubt. Then at the very end it says, on the other hand, instruction 10, if there is a real possibility that she is not guilty, you must give the defendant the benefit of the doubt. And that's reasonable doubt. That's beyond a reasonable doubt. If there is a possibility, that benefit must go to the defendant. Instruction 8 is about witness credibility. Witness credibility is a very common witness instruction or jury instruction that most people I talk to are not aware of this, but in summary, it says this: you as a jury are to decide a witness's credibility, whether they are believable or not believable. It's not our job, it's not the judge's job, it's not anyone's job but you, and that's your job as you go and deliberate as a jury. In this instruction, it does say that if you find that someone has lied, and this is the second last paragraph, you may believe part and disbelieve the rest. You may believe nothing they're saying if you think they have lied. In other words, you may believe all, part, or none of a witness's testimony. And I know a lot of this case is involving Kate, because she's a co-conspirator, according to the state. I think the testimony of Kate was so full of lies, it discredits all of her testimony. And I'll give my reason for that on one very simple question I asked. did you love Matt? She couldn't even say yes to that, even in the beginning of the relationship, because she was planting in her mind she needed to hold that 108 months. She needed to support the state's position. She couldn't even answer a simple, then why are you dating the guy if you don't love him? Why are you having a baby with the guy if you don't love him? I'm not talking about during June and July of 2024, and I'm specific. Did you ever? And she could never just say, I love Matt. Of course she loved Matt at one time. They spent years and years together. Volatile at times, I get. But there's just a time when it's what we call the softball, you know. I'm going to throw you a softball pitch so you can hit a home run. Even the softball she couldn't hit out of the park. She's just so filled with the need to support her position because of all the things that were built up against her. And she did not want to mess that up. She had to make sure. And in the end of her testimony, she basically lied about almost everything. Almost everything. And I asked her time after time after time, isn't it true that you said this? And isn't it true that you said that? And time after time, she would disagree. And then time after time, she just started to say, I lied about that. I lied about that. So at the beginning of your testimony, you say, I'm going to meet with the law enforcement and the prosecutor to be truthful. And then at the end of your testimony, you're saying, yeah, I'm lying about the whole thing. On the other hand, there are some things that are irrefutable. My client spoke to police the night of the event. Irrefutable. You can't dispute it. Unless someone wants to say that was AI who developed it. No one's going to say that. She did. She voluntarily. You have the right to remain silent. Do you want to remain silent? No. Do you have a right to have a lawyer? Do you want to have a lawyer? No, I don't care. Send the lawyer to Kevin. What do you know? What do you remember? She's trying her best to know and remember. And she says, I didn't hear anything. I mean, after he spoke to me, I didn't hear anything. In her testimony here, we had her testimony. She said, I expected Kate to come down when he got here. Now, one thing that some of these texts and exhibits that you saw in the closing was all this communication day of, and how they're finalizing their great plan of murder. But we all know that Tracey wasn't in American Fork. Indeed, Tracey was in Salt Lake at work when she got a text saying he's coming to Utah. It didn't say, we need to get ready. It didn't say anything like that. It just says, he's coming to Utah. Do you know why that was an important thing? Because no one thought he was coming to Utah before that. Everyone thought there was a different idea. A car rental, I'll fake an injury so I don't have to come. I can't do the car rental. He's not going to come to Utah in the truck. His neighbor's not going to give him a car to do it. He doesn't even have a license on his truck to come to Utah. But the way it's presented and slighted is just not common sense. The truth is that no one thought he was going to come to Utah until he finally says, I'm coming to Utah. Should I come with the starter busted, or should I get the starter? Should I put a new starter in? Do you remember that part in the phone call? He said, I have the starter. The starter should be good and take me time. And so he doesn't leave California until like noontime. And he has to drive from Temecula all the way to American Fork, beginning at noon. I mean, it can be done, and it was done, right? He did it. I've almost done that. You know, it can be done, but man, I usually want to leave earlier in the day. He had nothing going on. I guess he had to take care of the dogs or take care of the truck or those things, but there's no plan for him to come to Utah. There's no plan for him to come to Utah and let's murder him today. Although, in the closing, we hear about it all being a huge plan. There is no plan. The plan was simple. Kate, you need to get off your ideas and just figure out what you're going to do with Matt. Because you're in my master bedroom, you're taking your space away from me, you need to have some finalization. Love ya. But there has to be something done. Because it's not working the way it's working. That's reasonable. Witness credibility. I always like to say closing arguments because I just want you to know that everything I say is not evidence. It's just argument. Even though it might sound like evidence, it's not. It's just argument. And the prosecutors is just argument as well. My client chose to testify. She chose to tell you what she wanted to. She didn't have to. She could invoke her Fifth Amendment right and not say anything. And I could have said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client chose not to testify. However, she did testify. She testified when she spoke to those police officers. And here's what she will say about that. Could have always done that. But she wanted to tell you the truth. She wanted to tell you, I have a confrontational relationship with Matt. But sometimes it's not. I love my kids, and Matt's part of the family. We all got a t-shirt. And the truth is that we do have confrontations. And the truth is, yeah, I said, I want to strangle him. He's going to cancel the Disney trip. And then I want to kill him for lying about saying that I'm mad about her being in the pot house or the pot camp or whatever it's called. She said, I never said that. I said to him that, hey, be good if Kate came to Utah in the summer and spent some time with the grandkids and the other cousins, which he did not like. I could go on and on about the lies that Kate provided in not only her testimony with us, but also her testimony in the other case and also her interview testimony with the officers on June 16th. I could go on and on about that. But I think that's very clear that her just testimony was filled with fear, non-truth, defeated her own alleged purpose for coming forward of truth and justice, and really falls in the face of fear that she's going to spend a lot more time in prison. Instruction 13 is mental state. In the third paragraph it says, for each offense the law defines what kind of mental state, intentional and knowingly. And in this case, that's required as well. Sorry. In instruction 28, it's titled Mental States Defined. And this gives really some good instruction. A person acts intentionally when they engage in certain conduct or causes a certain result. Well, I know someone who engaged in certain conduct, and it was Kevin Ellis. Kevin Ellis grabbed a gun and he shot an unarmed man that he said had a knife. And he shot him 7 times. And it caused the result of his death. A person acts knowingly if he is aware of the conduct, aware of the particular surroundings, aware that the conduct is reasonably certain to cause a result. My client testified, to be truthful to you, that she was not aware of that conduct, that she was not aware Kevin was intending to get a gun and kill Matt. Indeed, she was hoping that Kate would be coming down soon to greet Matt because she wasn't exactly sure when he was getting there, but he's going to be there soon. And the inference of that intent. And the elements of the crime are then provided in instructions. Instruction 31. This is the instruction of the elements of murder. That Tracey intentionally and knowingly caused the death of Matt Restelli. It is surprising to me in this case how people are minimizing the actions of Kevin Ellis. He shot a man. He was high on cocaine. He made lies. And it seems to be minimized in this. In fact, I'll get to that in a minute. Instruction 34 is conspiracy. Conspiracy is if Tracey Grist intended that conduct constituting the crime of murder be performed and agreed with one or more persons to engage in the cause of performance of the conduct. The state would have you believe that this is a long-time plan. This is a long-time plan for certain decided well before July 12th, well before July 11th, and that the whole plan on Kate coming to Utah was to murder Matt. That is not what the unrefuted facts show. Indeed, if that were, this is the messiest murder I can think of, murder plan, where my client says, no, he didn't have anything. I didn't even hear a fight. When I saw him, he didn't have a knife in his hand. When I saw him later when he was dead, I did. But when he said, hey, I didn't see a knife in his hand. Why would she say that? Why don't you just say, yeah, he came in agitated, had a knife in his hand, he threatened me. Well, the word agitated is a little interesting. I just drove 10 hours, and I pull up to the front yard, and my wife's there with my kids who I haven't seen in 3 weeks, and she ain't there to greet me. The heck. I'd probably be agitated if I walked into, like, well, Kate, I mean, you know I'm here. So for my client just to volunteer, just off the cuff, he seemed agitated. Didn't say angry, mad, just seemed off. She did say he didn't have a knife. Did not have a knife. That's because she's helping the plan, helping the conspiracy. And the obstruction. The obstruction that she planted the knife. Her testimony is when I first saw the body, I looked at it. I don't remember what its real visual was. I went upstairs. I knew Kevin had shot him. Kevin said he had a knife. Went upstairs and said, Kate, don't come down, don't come down. Came downstairs, had to find my phone, called 911. There's a confusion about 911, frankly, because they used the name Caitlin, and are you Caitlin, or something like that. And my client was confused on the 911 call, because there's Katie and there's Caitlin, and Caitlin had already called. It is confusing. But on the obstruction that she planted the knife or lied to the 911 call. Her testimony was, Kevin said he had a knife. She didn't say, he had a knife, Kevin. No, she said he didn't have a knife. And then when she went over to where the body was, Kevin said he had a knife. And she's relaying that to 911. That all of a sudden comes up to another charge the state can charge against you, right? Well, there's another one. Obstruction. There's another one. Unless you follow our guidelines of a plea. Unless you agree to plead to murder, and conspiracy, and discharge of a firearm for Kate. On the elements of murder, that you intentionally and knowingly caused the death of Matthew Restelli. And there is someone who did that. It's Kevin. And there's an audio between Kevin and Tara Lynn. And he says, I have something I need to tell you. I talked to her. And Tara Lynn is just, oh wow, that's so hard. That's so hard on you. I don't know about you guys, but murder is the last thing in my mind. If I'm mad at someone, that's the last thing in my mind. And I don't know that I'm saying to a person who's been in jail for like almost 2 years, that's so hard for you. I think more the question I'd be saying is, why'd you shoot him 7 times? What happened? None of that was talked about in that tape. I had the gun, he had the knife, he came at me. None of that. I was on cocaine. She doesn't even say to him, you use cocaine? When did you start using cocaine? None of that conversation was talked about. She said on the stand, I didn't know he used cocaine. Rachel said on the stand, I didn't know he used cocaine. Tracey got on the stand, I didn't know he used cocaine. No one knew he used cocaine. They're all very surprised. Kate said, I didn't know he used cocaine. I know he didn't like weed. None of that kind of conversation took place between Terrell and him, but he was offering this information to her. And I suppose that he's offering this information to her for one reason. And it's something I know because I'm in this world of the criminal justice system. And that is, jail is hard. When you go to jail, you have one thing, and that is called time. You are doing time. All day. When you sleep, you get to sleep. When you wake up, you're doing time. And you have these little respites while you're serving your time to have phone calls. They're all recorded. Sometimes you get letters, but it's mainly phone calls. And as you have these phone calls, you can establish relationships with people and confirm relationships with people and reestablish and make sure those relationships are positive, because frankly, those are the only positive relationships you have in prison and jail. The relationships in jail and prison are scary. It's a scary place. It's where hard people live. And to establish those relationships and to try and garner some good relationships that you can do with one another on the phone is hugely valuable. And Kevin wanted to provide his sister a continuation of that relationship so that she'd take his calls, that she'd be available, so that she can just talk to him, so that he can have a reprieve from the jail and prison where he is. Because it's hard. I'm not saying it's not supposed to be hard, because it is supposed to be hard. But the truth is, it is hard. And it's hard because that's what you want. You want to lock people up so they don't have the opportunities to hurt. But he never accepts your real responsibility except, I should have said no. I should have this. I should have that. And then Tara Lynn says, that's so wild while you gave an opinion. I should have given Mom that opinion. With Rachel, we would have given our opinion. And I'm listening to this thinking, what are you talking about? An opinion about a plan to kill someone? Is that how you're talking to this guy? I mean, come on. If I'm having that conversation with anyone, whether it's my firstborn or my neighbor 16 blocks away, I'm not saying those kind of things about the idea of murder. I could have had a different opinion. A different opinion? She felt sorry for him. She felt sorry that he was convicted. She felt sorry that he's going through his hard time. Because he is. Because he killed a man. Because he killed a man while he was high on cocaine. Because that's what happened. There's plenty of talk of harm. I'm going to strangle him. I'm going to kill him. I'm mad at him. Got my tortillas wet. There's plenty of talk about harm and anger and volatility. But there's no plan to kill Matt. The plan for Matt was to come and have a conversation with Kate, and she is intimidated by the whole process because her name on their spreadsheets was red, 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 red. You're going to do a lifer. And you know what? We'll give you 108. And you've already done 2. No, that's wrong. 108 months, you've already done 2 years. We'll give you that. But you need to give us what the plan is. And what she said, as a 50-50. That certainly doesn't seem like a plan to me. That seems like you just don't know until a dude on coke decides to grab a gun and kill a man. I would ask that you find Tracey Grist not guilty. The state has not proven this case. What they've done is they've created a huge web to try and create a narrative that they got some people to follow. It's just not what is the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Feistar. Can I see you and Mr. Pomeroy up here for a minute, please?